Sometimes in history, there's this magic moment. Somebody appears on the scene and everything changes.
I am with you.
We've never seen anything like this.
I will fight for you.
This was a man who's met his destiny.
And I will win for you.
He said he was saved by God in order to make America great again.
His victory was the greatest comeback of all time.
You're watching history, so buckle up.
I don't think the American people have ever seen this before. A government that has moved this quickly and a president that has done so much when it comes to the border and energy and major investments from other countries. It's like warp speed.
47's on a hot streak, bringing head-snapping change to Washington, overwhelming the system with a volcanic eruption of action. Trump has a mandate from the people, and he's using it, and they're just getting started.
President Trump said on the campaign trail, success will be my retribution.
Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free. We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
America's back. Common sense is back. He is keeping his promise to you, the American people.
Inflation is down. Growth is up.
The numbers don't lie. The economy is soaring.
Lowest gas prices in 4 years.
And record tariff revenue.
The USA is on a roll, culminating in the signing of the One Big Beautiful Bill on July 4th.
The Trump economic golden age is full steam ahead.
America is back, thanks to the courage of President Trump, thanks to the leadership of his amazing cabinet, and thanks, of course, to our brave men and women in the United States military.
This is a message to the rest of the world. The days of ripping off America and Americans are officially over.
Between the attacks on Iran's nuke site and the Maduro operation, the U.S. military recruitment at an all-time high.
This president will go down in history as a peacemaking president.
Peace through strength. America's in charge.
And he's just got one filter, and that is America first.
Whatever they're doing, it's working. Zero illegal crossing, drug cartels frustrated, less crimes.
We have the most secure border in the history of this nation. If you think we're doing good now, you just wait till this coming year.
The president isn't taking his foot off the gas in 2026.
It's a new year. The stock markets are already making new record highs.
The Trump archive are a series of impossible feats.
As for the next year, the American people have so much to look forward to. The president will continue to build off of historic accomplishments.
2025 was setting the table, but the banquet's going to be in 2026.
This is the golden comment.
He says, make America great again because every American is invited.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun.
Ladies and James and my buddy Todd Graves of the Brett Moyer Foundation. Great food and a great cause. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers and the Brett Moyer Foundation. One love.
That'll talk about
you're away from the spotlight. You have time to think about what really matters. The spotlight.
Hey guys, how are you doing this evening?
Well, that's nice. Don't worry about that, Paul. I don't know. I installed this bot, so. I have no idea. I haven't heard from any of them in a minute. Nice. I might have to turn that damn thing off. Yeah, I'm gonna go through a couple things that from last night. Did you guys happen to watch that video I posted about the VP's plane last night? Let's see. Let me get this Nightbot turned off. That's so funny. Now I gotta go in and make sure that damn thing didn't block him. Alright. So, last night during the live, after the negotiations failed, about 1 o'clock in the morning, our time, there was a Pakistani Aleutian cargo plane that took off from Islamabad, and then about 30 minutes to an hour after that, Air Force Two and a follow-on special air mission plane took off right behind it, and they all three of them flew in tandem, and they ended up in Germany. So I spoke with Monkey today, and he seemed to think that it was the Pakistanis were moving some of our communication equipment. And, I told him, I said, to me that doesn't make any sense, for the simple fact is we got Mobility Air Command, which the Air Force has certain planes assigned to the White House that move all equipment, that move all vehicles, and the reasoning is, 1, maintenance schedules, and 2, security. So I don't believe that is it. And he was thinking maybe because we have all these cargo planes, that to me that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I haven't heard back from him since. He was going to dig into some stuff, and I talked to somebody over at that agency, and he kind of said without saying that would be a fair bet that we're not going to allow a foreign nation, especially Pakistan, because, they play both sides of the fence, moving our equipment, and especially, what happens if they put some type of detection device, or, anything is possible. So I think that's kind of all. I truly believe we're not being told the full story about these negotiations. And I think we took out some uranium. I really do. Because why would... Because when you have Air Force 2 going overseas, Air Force 1, they have fighter jet escort. So they're not going to allow that plane to be that close, for one. And it's kind of odd that, they both land, all three of them land in Germany. So I'm not really buying the whole equipment, communication gear, stuff like that. But like I said, anything is possible. I'm not going to sign off on that right yet. I'm trying to get this Nightbot turned off. And naturally, I don't know where in the hell I know where it's at, but anyways, yeah, so now we got, Trump putting a 10 a.m. Eastern time deadline for the Straits of Hormuz, and we're going to run a blockade. And I have heard that they have sent some more SEAL team assets over to that region, because they're probably going to start doing a lot of ship boardings. So you'll have the Marines, you'll probably have some Coast Guard over there doing inspections. Apparently I haven't learned my lessons. Yeah. Streamlabs was timed out. Hold on, I gotta find out. Let's see. Let's see. Nightbot. There you are. Let's see. Let's deactivate this. All right. Hopefully, I think that'll do it. Let's see. Oh, there we got an EAM coming through. I think that's going to be hot and heavy here in a few. Nightbot is evil. Yeah, Nightbot beating the shit out of Streamlabs. I'm such a tool bag. Yeah, I haven't received anything from Craig. I do remember him. Let's see if Pooty Poot is Q minus. Let's see. See if this one. Don't know. Maybe I turned that off, because I think I put it in a regular rotation. Yeah, so this blockade starts at 10 a.m., so that'll be interesting to see. I mean, and I don't think Trump's really messing around when it comes to this. I mean, from what they say, we don't get a lot of our oil from Iran, but who in the hell knows? They say that mostly goes to Europe, so we'll have to see about that. Let's see. Inner circle. Quality. Firestone. Let's see. But yeah, so there's some more test counts. So we're probably, like last night. Shoot, Nightbot. Last night, those EAMs that come across, that was probably EAMs to give ships orders on what needs to happen, and moving positions and getting ships on station, what lot line to get them put on. So I'm sure those guys, especially, a lot of people don't realize too, is once you get into the Middle Eastern region, everything is tax-free. So it's like you're getting a pay raise. So not only are you getting seed time, which you get extra money, but you also, it's a tax-free zone, so the feds don't take any taxes out of you. So that's kind of like another pay raise. So I mean, a lot of guys, they love going. I love going to sea because mostly when I went to sea, it was subsurface, so you got sub pay. Yeah, that's lodges with a test count. Let me get that turned up a little bit so when they come on we can hear them. I got the radios set up to where we don't hear all that static, so it seems like I'm working more now doing this kind of stuff than actually going into the shop, into the warehouse. So I don't know if that was a smart move or not, but yeah, this is fun. This is really entertaining. I like doing this. Once I got a few other projects that I'm working on, mostly getting my everything set up with my neighbors' business stuff set up for estimated income tax filings and stuff like that, because he has no clue. So, and with the dart business, that season starting to wind down a little bit. Once it gets warmer out, people go outside. They don't spend much time inside throwing darts and stuff like that. And then I was also working on some shirt designs today to I turned off Nightbot. So you should be good. There was just, I was looking at a couple things on Nightbot, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then not realizing once I turned it on, all this other craziness that was activated. Let's see here. Somebody sent me a message. Lodges. Let's see. I'm actually shocked. Oh, here's another weird thing. Well, it's not weird. I never really paid attention to it because I got a couple videos up on Rumble. It was just something I was playing around with. And I knew that, the channel was already monetized. They do stuff totally different than YouTube. But, like, a couple of the lives, you get earning dividends based on the ads that are shown. That was kind of interesting. I mean, I think it was like 49 or 59 cents. But that's kind of interesting. I mean, you're not going to get rich on it, but it's kind of nice how they, YouTube don't give you nothing. And then when somebody does give you something, they take, I think it's like 30%. Such a racket. But I know some people like to do, and once we had the channel above 500 before old Captain Channel Crasher come on and, had the whole account and channel whacked. But that's okay. We'll rebuild it. So hopefully you guys will like and share this out and all that other fun stuff. I'm also doing Twitch, Kick, Facebook, Rumble, Telegram. So if you have Telegram, it'll show that I think it comes up as like a live audio conference. So that works out really well too. Just different platforms. Let's see here. Yeah, I've gotten a couple messages about this whole this stuff that's going on in the Gulf. The Gulf. I kind of figured once I think our government already knew that negotiations were going to be not happening. They already had, plans in place. But man, I'm telling you, that last night that plane really bugged me. And there's still nobody talking about it. Yeah, I know, right? Craig not interrupting. Yeah, I get it. They do that stuff for so many hours and so much time. The Asian markets. And doesn't the oil market, I think that opens up here pretty soon too. But and another thing with those planes last night, we had a NATO plane, AWACS, that was flying right around, Air Force 2. And even though this is kind of like Summer Wall Fears, Jack Ryan's type stuff, right? People think it's Hollywood. Even with NATO, even though they're allies, our military watches them really close when it comes to escorting the president, the vice president, Secretary of War, whoever it is, because you never know. I'm sure because I think the Japanese get a lot of oil from that region. And it's almost, and I know there's people in here that don't believe in the whole Q thing, and I get it, because a lot of people gave that a bad name with other stuff, but I'll have to see if I can dig up some NSA message traffic that's not classified through their reporting system. And I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure there's some stuff even on NSA's website. And kind of show you how that lines up with some of the structure lines up with the post from 4chan. And a lot of that stuff is starting to come true. And it gets to be real scary, when you start looking at some of that stuff. And, and I totally get some people believe, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of people that made a lot of money off of that whole operation, to basically, I don't know if you want to say inform people or to give, people some sort of avenue to look at things differently, I guess we should say. My puppy realizes I am in here talking and she wants to see who I'm talking to. But how many coincidences does it take for it to show that just to show there is something bigger at play. I lost my faith because everything was not going to. Well, I said last night, I get why people are getting pissed off at Trump. And when he got in the second term, I told people on a few channels, 6 months to a year, and you'll start seeing people turn on him because they're expecting so much to happen. And when it didn't happen and when people were putting out dates, they were just like, screw off. But it did. It ruined it because there are ways of reading 4chan. You don't necessarily go in order, I guess you could say. And here's one of the scariest things is I didn't know nothing about 4chan till, oh shit, I think I come across Prepping 101, I think is who it was, and he was going over this, and I was just looking at it, and I'm like, man, this is dead on NSA message traffic. So I started looking into it and talking to a couple buddies, and they giggled, like, and I couldn't tell if the laughter was because, oh, you're one of those type people, or, oh, stupid, you're just now realizing this. Okay? Let's see, I believe it was my third year at Segru. We had we were asked, the big chair was one of them. The Navy's #1 Russian linguist was one of them. His name is Vitelli. There was a guy from Akin Acoustic Intelligence that was involved. Myself, I was at ILC. And there were 3 other guys, because I think there was a total of 8 of us. That the Command Master Chief, who in the Navy, the Command Master Chief is your senior top enlisted dude. So when the military talks about chain of command, so it for the Navy wise, it would go LPO, our chief, our senior chief, our master chief, and then it would go to Command Master Chief, or Division Officer, XO, CO, and then it would go over to Compact Fleet, Compact Fleet, Commander Naval Fleet Pacific Forces. So our Command Master Chief, which this was the coolest guy, he was from Nigeria, but he was the coolest Master Chief I think I ever worked for outside of Bobo. you know, we busted on Bobo. Bobo he was a really good dude. He really gave a shit about his sailors. And so this Command Master Chief, I worked Bravo shift, which was, I'm trying to think what the shift was. 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. You worked 2 on, 1 off, then you inverted. You worked 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 3 days, and then you had 3 days off. So when I went into the Charlie shift, I logged into our Sunspark 5, which was RPCs, NSA PCs, and open up my emails, and I see an email from the Command Master Chief, and it was directly to me, and I'm like, man, the hell's this all about? He said, hey, please, when you get in, please respond to this. I need to see you. And so I respond, and where I worked at ILC, it was a joint operations. So you had the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and we had a guy from the CIA with us, and somebody from SIGINT, which I believe he was DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. So each of us had a pause, and so we worked certain areas, we worked certain targets, stuff like that. So I let my LPO know. I was like, hey, did you get an email from, CMC, Command Master Chief, that he wants to see me? And he goes, nope. And I'm like, man, that chain of command only works one way. And he was like, well, I guess so. He asked me, did you respond? And I said, yeah. I told him that I was on the watch floor. And so, I don't know, about a half hour, 45 minutes later, where I was at on the watch floor, you had 2 main doors in the skiff. Well, the whole building that I was in was a skiff. And so you could freely walk in and out of these double doors, and there was 2 sections of them. So he walked in and walked up the ramp, and I see him walking up the ramp, and and I'm going through my head, man, what the hell did I do that the CMC wants to see me? And I'm sitting there, and I'm copying a couple targets, and Master Chief comes up and taps me on my shoulder, and I turn and I was like, hey, what's going on, Master Chief? He goes, are you busy? And I said, well, I don't have these headphones on for shits and giggles. And it was just like an awkward pause, And he was like, he looked at our watch chief and said, hey, can I grab him for a few minutes? He's like, yeah, go ahead. So what we would do, if there was something that we had to leave a pause, we would start recording the frequencies that we're listening to, so we could go back when it's dead, and you can go back and listen to see if you missed any traffic. So I get up and secure my pause. You have to put some stuff inside the green screens, is what we called them, to let NSA know that you're away from the keyboard. That way, if something pops off, they don't send your pause a direct message. And I know this sounds antiquated, but this was 30 years ago, direct messaging from Fort Meade, Maryland to Kunia, Hawaii was a big deal. And so I let NSA, the ops center at NSA know, hey, I'm going to be AFK, away from the keyboard. And so I walk out with Master Chief, and he was like, he had this real thick accent. It seems like I always had the chiefs that were either circus clowns or had thick accents, because at NTTC Corey Station, which is Pensacola, right next to NSA Pensacola, I had a guy named Chief Huertas, and he was our chief, and he made senior chief while I was there, and he'd always say, hey man, what's going on, man? He was from Puerto Rico, coolest dude ever, but we always used to make fun of him. And it was I think more so in the Navy, there's more ball busting that goes on than any other branches. One, the jarheads, or two, anal. You start busting somebody's balls and they'll probably shoot you. The Air Force, you have to go see a guidance counselor. Army, they just don't take this the wrong way. This is just how service members look at it. The Army is kind of like, we call them chode monkeys, ground pounders, the guys who didn't score all that high on ASVABs, and that's not the case, but that's just inter-service rivalry, that the ball busting goes on. So I'm walking upstairs to the second deck with Master Chief, and I was like, yeah, Master Chief, I said, what's going on? He goes, oh, we need to have a conversation. I'm like, okay. And he's not telling me anything, right? So, I start seeing what kind of mood he is by joking around. And I said, well, Master Chief, I said, hey, when I read your email, I let my LPO know that, hey, I got an email from the Command Master Chief wanting to know, hey, did you hear from the CMC saying you wanted to see me? And he said, no. I said, so I guess that chain of command only works one way. And he just kind of looked at me and gave me this shitty look. And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking in the back of my head, man, what the fuck did I do? And so as we're walking up the second ladder well, I was like, Master Chief, I got a question for you. He's like, yep, sailor, what do you got? And I said, should I be stopping off at the JAG office? Because we had, in our facility, we had a JAG officer. They called her Lucky Luciano. And she was Italian. Coolest lady ever. Her last name was Luciano, and the skipper, the first skipper I loved, Captain Rappin. He was the coolest skipper known to man. And this was on the intel side of the house. And he always called her Lucky. Lucky Luciano, the old mobster. And so I said, Master Chief, should I be stopping off at the JAG office? He looked at me and goes, well, you think you need an attorney? I said, well, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies from you. And he goes, oh, do you want me to come up and hug you and pet your head and let you know everything's okay? And he's saying this in this Nigerian voice. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's really necessary there, Master Chief, but, kind of like to know what the hell I'm getting into. And he goes, don't worry about it. So his office is in what they call command group. And so you have the XO's office, the skipper's office, you have all the yeomen that are assigned to each one of those offices. So we walk into the command group, and the Master Chief says, go ahead and have a seat there, sailor. And I'm like, yes, sir. Yep, Master Chief, no problem. So I see him go into the skipper's office. And I'm like, holy shit. And it's racing through. I mean, look, I'd only been, at that time, I'd only been in the Navy for like a year and a half. And one of my very good friends was Vitelli. His parents were off the boat Russian. It took Vitelli, we called him Vito. It took him almost a year and a half to get his security clearance because he had, one, his parents come from a communist country. And they take extra time, making sure we're not going to have an Aldrich James or a Walker moment. And he damn near broke the record for security clearance holds. The only person, and I think he still has the record for security clearance hold, was a guy that we knew named Frank Celestino. Yeah, the last name says it all. I'll tell that story here after I get done with this. So I'm sitting there, and he goes into Captain Rappin's office. And, I'm like, oh, shit. I'm sitting there, and I'm almost like, start rocking back and forth, because I'm thinking, what the fuck did I do? And the first thing I ask is, I looked over at the yeoman, who I think was a E5 or E6 mob, kind of, sorta. So I am sitting there, and I asked the yeoman, I said, hey, petty officer, I said, I got a question. And she goes, yeah, what's up? And I said, do you know if the CMC or if the skipper had notified my other chain of command that I'm sitting there? And she goes, I don't know. Because my other chain of command was on the SEAL side of the house. So, hold on one second. I gotta grab something to drink. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I took my mother out to dinner, and I had this, some type of vegetable mix, and they put too much salt in it, and with some of the prescriptions that I take, it dries me out quite a bit. So she said, well, I don't know if they notified your command. She goes, I know I haven't. I said, but I'm sure you'll get an opportunity to ask them. And I said, what do you mean, ask them? And she said, well, you have an appointment, according to my book, with the Command Master Chief, with the skipper, and we're waiting on a 2-star admiral. And I'm like, what 2-star admiral? And she goes, well, we know he's from JITPAC, which is Joint Intelligence Pacific Fleet Command. It's right across the street from Pearl Harbor. And so I looked at her, and it's so amazing that I can recall this, because it's like these type of events get etched in your mind and you never forget them because they make for the best fucking stories. And I'm like, well, shit. And she goes, what? When I'm telling you that the Navy does a lot of ball busting, I mean, even this, I think she was E6, which is a petty officer first class. She goes, man, you must have did something major for all of these people to be coming in. And I'm like, I remember looking at her and saying, well, I do have one question. And she's like, yeah. And I said, is the SSO coming? And she looks on the schedule and she goes, no, I don't see the SSO. Which his name was Dave Cruz, Petty Officer Cruz. And so the SSO is what they, in the Navy, they call Special Security Officer. So normally they're part of Shore Patrol, but they handle the intelligence people, because you have to have a top secret security clearance in order to go into these skiffs. And so when she said, no, the SSO isn't there, I was like, okay. It set in my head that, all right, so there's no security violations. You know, whether I mishandled the document or did something come up that I'm being investigated? Are they suspending my security? Those are the type of questions now that were going through my head. And what really threw me is she didn't know, and she didn't think that anybody notified Chief Noble, who was the SEAL platoon chief, because he would be there, you know. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn. And to me, it seemed like a lifetime, and I think it was only like 5 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm so fucked. What did I do? Well, shortly thereafter, I see a full bird Navy captain in 06 walk in, and he's got the tassels around his arm, so which means he was fleet staff. So basically you're a full bird captain, Navy captain, but you're an admiral's go boy. I mean, so I see him walk in, and he had his aide with him, which was an 02 or 03. So he comes up, and the yeoman stands up at attention and says, good afternoon, Skipper, or Captain. I always called him Skipper, whether they were on a boat or not. And they're like, hey, yeah, we're here to see Captain Rappin. And he goes, okay, sir, just hold on 1 second. Let me call him, let him know that you're here. And so she calls Captain Rappin and says, hey, the Admiral and the Admiral staff's here. So I'm like, what in the flying hell is going on? So here comes this 2-star Admiral walking in, and as he's walking in, he kind of looks over to the right and looks at me. Doesn't say anything, just looks at me and then turns his head and continues walking. And I'm like, holy shit. If the next group of people that walk in are Shore Patrol, I don't know if I'm just going to have a stroke right here or if I'm going to haul ass and try to get out of here. Because normally, when Shore Patrol, which are, the Navy cops show up, you're probably going in handcuffs. So I'm just sweating bullets. And seemed like an eternity. You know, I'm sitting there, my legs are fidgeting, and I'll let you get, even the top level brass bust balls. They just do it differently, and they know they can get away with it, per se. So I'm sitting there waiting, and the yeoman's phone rings. And, you know, she goes, "Yes, sir, I'll send him right in." And the yeoman goes, "Peril, Sir Bowman, go ahead and head into the skipper's office." So his door's shut, so I knock on the door, and I hear, "Come in." And so I enter, and I stand at attention, and I said, "Captain Rappin," and I had a good relationship with Captain Rappin. I mean, he was one of those guys that, if you seen walking down the tunnel, we called the tunnel, it was a long enclosed road that was underneath the pineapple fields that led to the skip. If, you know, you were walking back and forth through the tunnel, you pop your salute, and he would actually stand there and talk to you. Like I said, he's another one that actually gave a shit about his sailors. Because trust me, there's some, you know, chiefs, senior chiefs, master chiefs, and above that don't give a shit. So I, you know, stand about a foot away from his desk, stand at attention, say, you know, reporting is ordered. He goes, "Go ahead and have a seat, son." And I'm sitting here, and everyone's got this, like, straight look on their fucking face. And I'm like, oh, I'm so doomed. And yes, this is an EAM going out. Yeah, I'll get the, I think if you, I may have to program it. Yeah, I'll get the Telegram link for. So, you know, the Captain Rappin goes, "Oh, go ahead and take a seat there, shipmate." I'm like, okay, so I'm sitting there, and I look up. Well, the admiral, the 2-star, said, "Can I go ahead and take over?" captain. And the skipper, Captain Rappin, goes, by all means. And he gets into a satchel. He pulls out my service record. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'm just waiting. I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, shit. And now everything's going through my head. Is there a problem with my security clearance? Because my father had a top secret SCI security clearance because he was an aeronautical engineer for TRW. One of my brothers had a top secret SCI security clearance. So I'm thinking, and not one time did I think that maybe something happened to my sister who was on the island and they were bringing me in to inform me, or something happened to a family. And that never, ever, ever entered my mind. Not ever. Because I think you get those feelings when something, at least I do, because I've had a lot of death in my families, and I kind of get a feeling. Yeah, I'll post in Telegram. That actually, whenever on Telegram, if you click the top, it looks like a phone. It'll actually show this broadcast whenever I go live. So, like I said, that never entered my mind. So the next thing that entered my mind was, oh, fuck. There's something wrong with my security clearance. Maybe one of my siblings did something. They're going to temporarily suspend my clearance. And, now I'm going to be working at the First Lieutenant's Division, which is like normally on board ship, you're chipping fucking paint. First Lieutenant's Division at Cunha was you were sweeping the fucking parking lot. And that damn thing better be swept nice, and there better not be any trash anywhere. So he pulls out my service record and he looks and he goes, so Pale Serbo, you started out at Pensacola, Florida, correct? And I was like, yes, Admiral. He goes, and that was a regular structured A school, correct? I was like, yes, Admiral. And he goes, so then the detailer contacted you and they sent you to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for C school for Morse code. And I said, that's correct. And he goes, and that was a self-paced course, right? And I said, yes, Admiral. He goes, how long did it take you to complete that self-paced course? I was like, I think I did it in 9 days, but don't hold me to it. And he said, wow, so you're pretty smart. And I said, well, I guess I wouldn't be sitting in this. This is me, thinking and then turning those thoughts into audibles, which you probably shouldn't do in front of a 2-star admiral. I said, well, Admiral, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this chair if I wasn't. He just kind of looked at me. And Captain Rappin, I looked over, and Captain Rappin sat back in his chair and just dead stares at me, shaking his head. Like, shut the hell up. And he goes, so what happened after Fort Huachuca? And I said, well, I was waiting for a billet to pop up from the detailer, and I was still waiting on my full-blown top-secret SCI security clearance. He goes, okay, so what did the detailer offer you? And I said, they sent me to the Defense Language Institute out in Monterey, California. He goes, okay, what was the language of choice that they chose for you? I said, Russian. He goes, and that was a self-paced course? And I said, yes. And he goes, how long did it take you to complete that course? And I said, well, I believe about 3 or 4 months. And I said, so I was still waiting on it. And they offered me another language. And he goes, okay, so which language did you choose then? And as I'm telling him this, he's looking through the service record because everything's chronologically ordered. And so I said the next one was Arabic. And I said I got about 2 weeks into it and I was bored. He goes, what do you mean you were bored? And I said, well, I was catching on to it quick. So the instructor, and I forget what his name was, but he was the guy who created Rosetta Stone. He said, hey, maybe we should look at maybe doing a dual immersion. And I was like, what the hell are you talking? I told him, what the hell are you talking about dual immersion? He goes, we can do 2 languages at once. I was like, okay, I'll shoot for that. So the admiral's looking. He goes, so I'm looking at your DLAP scores, which is your Defense Language Aptitude Test. Okay, so every 2 years, you have to take a DLAP test. And you have to score at least 2-3 on every section of the test because for every language, you get bonuses. You get extra money. And as long as you do 2 3s at minimum on these DLAP scores, you get your bonuses. So he goes, well, I'm looking here and they have 7 DLAP scores. And I said, yes, Admiral. He goes, so what other languages? And I said, well, Russian, Chinese, Arabic, Korean, French, which we don't use, so I don't get DLAP money for, Pashto and Dari. And he goes, oh, that's kind of impressive. He goes, there's only a few of you guys in the fleet that I'm aware of. And I was like, oh, okay. And so now I'm starting to think, am I getting selected for like Junior Sailor of the Year? The tides are, starting to think, I'm getting a little cocky, right? And so the Admiral goes, well, what happened after Monterey? And I said, well, the security clearance had just come through. But the job that I was going to be assigned to at NSGA Cunha wasn't available yet. So they sent me to Seesaw Swick, which at the time, and I don't know if it's still in effect, but when you go Special Forces or anything like that, you cannot be a part of the intelligence community. I'm not sure if it's something to do with the United Nations or Geneva Convention. There's something there that you can't do it. So the military come up with a thing called Seesaw Swick. And it's a separate program that you go into to where, you go to BUDS and then you're like an intelligence guy for SEAL teams. And I said, so I did that. He goes, who was your Master Chief there? And I said, Master Chief Chalker. He goes, okay. He goes, so where do you live at now? And I said, well, I live over on Ford Island. I said, I started out at Schofield Barracks. I was there for like 2 weeks, and then they moved us to Eva Beach. And once the IAEA bridge, the IAEA bridge that connects IAEA to Ford Island, once that was built, they moved us all to Fort Island. I said, which was really cool, because even though, you're like 20 miles from Cunha, I was right in front of, SEAL Team 1 detachment. And he goes, so who is your current chief at Team 1? And I was like, it's Chief Noble, Bosun Mate Chief Noble. He goes, I know Dave extremely well. And I was like, yeah, he's a good guy. He goes, let me ask you, do you know he's a stunt man? And this come out of like nowhere. And I'm thinking to myself, the fuck does that have to do with anything? And I said, no, Admiral, I didn't know he was a stuntman. He goes, yeah. He goes, he's in tight with Wesley Snipes and Steven Seagal and all these guys. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I said, I didn't know that about him. And if you actually watch the movie with Tommy Lee Jones, where Wesley Snipes, I think there was like it was like U.S. Marshals. I think it was like the second one. Chief Noble's name is Dave Noble is in the credits for stuntmen. And so after he had told me that, me and a couple guys, we were like going through, and I asked my LPO over at the teams, I was like, Petty Officer Carroll was like, hey, I said, did you guys know that Chief was a stuntman? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, no big deal. And I was like, oh, the Admiral, old 2 Stars had told me. And some other conversation happened after that. But so the Admiral was like, yeah, he goes, Dave's a good guy. And I said, yeah, Chief Noble is. I said, I really enjoy working with him. And the Admiral looks at me and goes, Pay Officer, you have no fucking clue why you're here. And that's exactly how he said it. And I'm like, Admiral, to be honest with you, no. And I'm probably about ready to shit my dress whites until I find out. And he goes, we have 4 of you guys at this command alone that your names keep coming up. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, you know why I have your service record, do you not? And I said, my guess is you wanted to get up close and personal with me. He goes, that would be a fair assessment. He goes, we have some special projects, and there's 4 of you guys here that your names keep coming up. And I said, okay. And he goes, he goes, what's your family life like? I was like, I'm not married, have no kids, Admiral. And he goes, are both parents still alive? And I said, well, my mother is. He goes, are you close to your mother? I said, absolutely. He goes, okay. Any siblings? I said, yep, I got 6 brothers and sisters. He goes, okay, are you close to them? And I said, yes. And I said, one of them's here on the island. He goes, oh, where are they at? And I said, they're at Triple R Army Hospital. He goes, oh, okay. And he said, what do they do there? And I said, well, I said, my sister's a combat nurse. He goes, oh, okay, so you have to be pretty smart to become a combat nurse. And I said, well, I guess so. I have no clue. He goes, well, what I would like to do, and he looks at Captain Rappins, looks over at him, and he goes, with your permission, Captain, I would like to do a TAD for Petty Officer B here. And, the captain looked at the Admiral, and he shakes his head and goes, absolutely, Admiral, whatever we can do to facilitate this. And I looked at Captain Rappin, I looked at the Master Chief, and I said, TAD for what? He goes, well, we can't talk about it here, but it'll come pretty quick. I was like, okay, and he goes, you're dismissed. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I walk out the door, and here is my buddy Vito sitting in his chair. So he looks like he's about to get interrogated by the fucking KGB. So I go out to the yeoman's desk, and I was like, oh my God, that was so painful. And you just see the expression change on Vito's face. And she goes, was it bad? And I said, bad. I looked over and I said, Vito, what the hell are you doing here? He goes, I don't know. Command Master Chief come on the watch floor and told me to bring my ass up here. And I was like, dude, we're so screwed. And he's like, what? And Vito and I lived across the hall from each other in the apartment barracks. I was like, dude, we're done. We're done. I don't know what it is, but they got an admiral, they got a full bird captain, they got our skipper, they got the command master chief in there. They won't tell me shit. And, so now I start adding stuff because he's looking worried. And I'm like, look, they told me to pack my shit and head home. He goes, what do you mean head home? What do you mean head home? I said, back down to Fort Island. He goes, oh, I thought you meant like head home, head home. And I'm like, no. I said, but I don't know what the hell's going on. And I just see him panicking. And it's missing from this. Let's see. Oh, I thought maybe I lost my channel. I started seeing, I started seeing the circle of death. I don't know if are you guys still with me? You guys still with me?